Hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on that wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all the while fixing it and others up for some pretty ambitious cruising. If that's the sort of thing that you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. Yes, I am back down at the Causeway Marina in Victoria and just loving it. So in this episode, we're going to get started by bringing Poem back down to Victoria, and then we'll be back up in Genoa Bay in the shed working on MV Zephyrus, and it's a bit scattered. There's a bunch of little things going on, and not every project is going as well as I'd like it to, but on the whole, I'm very, very pleased with what I got done this week. So let's jump back and get going. And good morning from the shed in Genoa Bay. Well, I've had Poem in the shed overnight as I prepare for fall. You see the dinghies are tucked away and Poem is all loaded up and geared up to head down to Victoria for her winter moorage. Well, I'll be living aboard this winter, so we're just about to slip our lines and the 5.5-6 hour steam down to Victoria. It's a beautiful day for it. Plus I have a nice strong ebb, so as we say, I'll be riding the roller coaster. Let's go. And yes, we're back in the shed with MV Zephyrus and time to get at something that I've been dreading. Right underneath this window track here is a completely rotten out section of cabin side which leaks chronically, and we knew we had to deal with it when we were doing all the work on Zephyrus last year and just didn't get to it. So that's this week. Okay, so first things first is to get the window off, and to get the window off we remove this extra piece of the track here so it can slide out and off. Why? Easy, easy, easy. And now for the track itself, and I'm not quite sure how it's fastened. Let's have a look. Standard screws. I could probably find a driver bit for standard screws, but I have a feeling this is going to require some care. Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Now I'm not going to try and save the track, so depending on how this next section comes apart, it may get a little more violent. Alright, I don't see any bungs here, so this doesn't appear to have been something that was added on. Let me start back here with getting it off and see if that teaches me anything about what's going to happen further forward. Oh, this is a mess. This is such... Oh, okay, well that's a separate piece. How about that? Don't see fasteners inside, don't see fasteners outside. Well, while I think about that, let me give you a little tour of what's going on underneath it, and that's this mess here. Yeah. Before I get too far here, I really need to plastic up this opening so that I don't get any dust and junk inside the boat. There we go. Okay. And it's epoxied in, which makes it nice and hard to get out. Embedded in, I would say 5200 in here because it's pretty tough and gooey. Okay, I got that screw. But here's the problem. As I move forward, you may notice that the swoop, as it is going to make it harder to get in here, and I'd have to do this with a stubby. Let's see if I can use the scraper to expose some bungs now that I know they're here. There we go. And as I said, I'm going to have to get a stubby. In retrospect, it's pretty clear I should have gone with the scraping to find the bung solution first, but I actually didn't know there were going to be any there. Okay, what do we got here? I guess if I get it apart this way, I could put it back together the same way too. This stubby screwdriver is a lifesaver. Okay, they're about that far apart. Let's look about here somewhere. Bingo! That was not much fun. Okay, a little persuasion right here. Come on now, you can do it. Now heat always helps with 5200, but I'm not sure I can get heat on where I need to here. Now it's coming apart. At this point I've lost ground. I have to do a little damage to the cabin side. That's got the sound I like. Tearing 5200. It's a symphony. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Nice. Oh, it's a good thing I did it too, because it took off a big chunk of the cabin side. Yeah. So what we have here is definitely a real mess that's going to have to get some pretty serious work most of the way along here, and then it gets worse up here because I just ripped out a chunk about half an inch deep and all the way through to here where it's compost. This is compost in here. What I really don't want to have to do is take this part of the track off as well because, well, it's in pretty good shape, having just fixed it up a bit last year. Now, I just went inside and took off the trim piece that's in behind here, right there, to see if it was fastened from the far side, and it's not, so... Okay, so what I've decided to do is cut the bottom off of here right at the top edge of the frame out here, and in fact I'm going to do it fairly rough to begin with because I'll fine-tune this after I make the frame, but that solves the problem. Anything below here I can deal with on the cabin side. In fact, the bottom of this is a bit punky anyway, so yeah, I think this is a fair solution, and if it all goes badly I can still take the whole thing off, which I said I'd hate to do. Beauty. Now I can let you in on a dirty little secret. This half cowl vent was actually the cause of much damage on the boat because they're not actually a door aid. And if you don't know what a door aid is, I'll find an opportunity to explain it in a little bit. But the main thing is it allows water straight into this part of the boat. In fact, it encourages it. So when I put everything back together after the repairs we did already last year, I didn't actually connect it to anything. But at least in the meantime, I'm gonna have to get it back off and figure out what I'm doing. And out it comes. We're emerging into some of the sin that I left last time I was here, but knew I couldn't get to it. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is going to be a much bigger project than I was hoping for. Much. Well, it's now painfully obvious that this is going to be much more work than either Lady Zephyrus and I were hoping. And that much more work obviously is going to require grafting in some new mahogany here. So you can see, deciding how much to take out of the cabin side and deciding the order of operations and the way I fasten the new sill and the bottom of the cabin side has a lot to do with how quickly and easily this project is going to go. Obviously dealing with how it tucks in here and tucks in up at the other end is, well, I won't really know how that's going to go until I get there. Bottom line is, it's a hell of a lot more work than we were counting on. And if my good friend and shipwright Scott Dressler is watching, he'll remember that he actually did this exact same job on the port side of the boat a couple of years ago. In fact, he did it right up to the underneath of the window here, and it was quite a significant bit of work. And he did a fabulous job. So I'll just have to make sure I can do something at least as adequate. And well, with this project having gotten significantly more ambitious than I might have hoped, I'm going to defer it a week, and that's largely because Lady Zephyrus really needs her wheelhouse to be usable this week and weekend. She's very busy with working, and I have to pretty much empty it, take the table out. It's going to be a mess in there, so we'll defer that, and I don't really mind. Okay, there's lots to do. All right, some of you may recognize Zephyrus's electrical panel, which is underneath the helm here, and it's actually worked out quite well. I've been quite pleased with it. Did it a while ago. Going to change out the inverter. So we're gonna shut off shore power, and we're gonna shut off all the batteries, both the start and the house batteries. So everything here is dead. Let me show you this antique inverter that Zephyrus has aboard. I've already removed a panel that was in this place that kind of tidied this up. But this old Heath, which I believe is the predecessor to the Xantrix line of inverters. Anyway, it's been a fine inverter. However, it is a modified square wave, or possibly only a square wave, and it has started to chew up some electronics that we keep forgetting to make sure we've disconnected. So we're going to replace this, and I'll show you in a minute what we're replacing it with. But first, I got to get it out of here. And there we go, they're out. Okay. Well, and good morning. I've given this a lot of thought overnight. This will eventually be a hanging locker, and all of the folks will be redesigned. And as a result, this miserable chewed up bulkhead should get veneered in nice peely for the inside of that, but I'm not going to do any of that now because I don't really know how this is going to go in the future. So without using any of my favorite temporary interim type words, we're going to mount the inverter against this bulkhead vertically on an angle, because to tell you the truth, access to the end panel and where all the wiring goes is remarkably awkward the way the end panel works. So going to relocate the wires, AC wires down a little. It's all coming together. It's all coming together. Okay, Renault G. Okay, I don't mind admitting that was a tough lift. A very tough lift. This is the remote for this charge inverter that has a lot of features and a lot of controls and a lot of things that you'd like to be able to manipulate and monitor and check up on. And well, the remote is off and on. So that's fine. All the really important information is on this sort of display here on the actual unit. But when you mount this in a boat or an RV or anything mobile, it's not always in a place that's very convenient. So you can access all the information here. And I needed to have this display somewhere where I could sort of see it. So there's going to be a bulkhead here eventually, closing off this closet, providing adequate ventilation for the inverter. But I'll have to put a little window or a panel of some sort in here to be able to sit on the end of the bed and push all the buttons required to manage the inverter. That shouldn't have to happen all that often, but this is a bit of a disappointment. Okay, I opted not to go into too much of this install because, well, I was getting rather fed up. If you look in there, you can see I've had to put a ground on because the tiny little ground terminal that they give you is completely inadequate because in a marine application, your ground wire needs to be the same size as your regular negative battery terminal. Anyway, so you can see the problem here. The end panel, all the cables and wires have to pass through it, which means you have to sort of balance them all in there as you make all the connections, including this tiny little connection up in here for the on-off switch was on the face panel. Anyway, the thing is, if it gets installed and it works perfectly after that, well, then I can forgive it this sin. But this was definitely designed by someone who never imagined installing it. Okay, I'm going to turn it on and test it in this position. Well, there we go. Installed and running, and I must say, I guess I have no further problems with it. It's not the quietest thing, but until it gives us some sort of trouble, I'm going to say it's just fine. So then, with all my complaining, why did we choose the Renogy charge inverter? Well, it's very, very economical. Almost a quarter the price of a Victron, and less than a fifth of the price of the Magnum Energy, which was the one I would have chosen. So, as I said, if it turns out it works fine, then it's probably pretty good value. And as you can see, I also stripped the bathroom porthole. Very, very pleased with that. Okay, let's start putting some of this up. Okay, well, that worked out pretty well. I'm quite pleased. Now I got to work on something that's really quite frustrating. When I tiled the bathroom here, it was understood that I was going to make a cabinet from that point up because the toilet actually doesn't sit back against this bulkhead. So I was going to build a cabinet back here that Lady Zephyrus could put stuff in and deal with some messes down here. The only problem is this little side cabinet here comes too far back. So I need to shorten it so it lines up exactly with the one above, nice and tidy. There's some complexities to that, I'm sure. By some unbelievably good luck, the entire frame was just held in by a few screws on the edge and simply lifts out for me to take to the bench and somehow shorten. Nice! Well, folks, if you watched the Beer of the Week, you would have noticed the tiny little tease about what's underneath this cover, and this is in fact a 1956 Peterborough 16-foot runabout that Lady Zephyrus and I have just bought together. It's the Peterborough Speedster. Now, I've actually had a Peterborough before when I was in Nova Scotia, a 14-footer. My experience with the 14-footers is I have the foredeck, but no plexiglass windshield. So this is actually quite a sweet little boat that's in remarkably good shape considering its age. And it came with this super sweet Johnson Seahorse 18 from, I believe, 1957. Anyway, this is going to be a lot of fun to play with. It does have the front cover here. Woot woot! All right, so if we give it a good look over, I would say it's in pretty awesome condition. As I said, I've had a Peterborough once before and it was nothing like this. Fasteners all look pretty good. I don't believe this is refastening. It's just a lot more at the hood end for sure. But no, nothing punky up in here. It seems really quite good. Just for you who may not know the boats, these boats are bright above the splash rail, which is currently removed, but it's inside and painted red below. And so that's why you have this change of color right here. So anyway, carrying on, no real collision damage. There's a little bump here, but I don't believe that's collision. I just don't think it's sanded out. Likewise, I thought this was a little bit of collision with filler, but it's actually proud. I don't think it's just been sanded out enough yet. So carrying on, I would say really, really quite nice. The person who sold it to us has brand new remanufactured stickers for here, so that's kind of neat. Now the transom, maybe a little bit here at the hood ends, but not bad. I mean, really very, very, very manageable. Transom is mahogany and quite gorgeous. Now, so the only real work is inside here, and that's right where the water sits in her. So you can see here, there's a number of ribs rotten out where they crossed, and it was wet down here. In fact, you can see it's wet here right now. So I think this is going to be a pretty straightforward process of scarfing in into the existing ribs, steaming some new ribs right underneath. These go underneath this keelson or whatever you're going to call this, and of course I'll have to remove that to do that work. And well, obviously I'm going to have to remove it because it's broken. So I'll probably scarf a new keelson, if that's what we're going to call it, in for at least this much of the boat. Once it's out, put all these new frames in, and they won't be sisters, they'll be framed, scarfed in, replacing the existing, so it'll look completely original. Even though it's under the floorboards, it won't really matter. Anyway, I have some ideas about other ways to stiffen the boat up, but that's way, 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 way into the future. Anyway, I think it's a sweet little boat. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun, both to fix up and then to run around with. Of course, it's a lake boat. It's not really an ocean boat, so it needs pretty fair weather. Here's the little bomb I'll drop. Should I fiberglass the bottom? Hello there, and welcome to the Travels with Geordie Beer of the Week, coming to you this week from beautiful Inner Harbor, downtown Victoria, where I'm here aboard MV Poem in front of the gorgeous Empress Hotel. Let's get straight to the beer. This is yet another beer that was gifted to me in Port Townsend, and yet another beer that I have lost track of the kind individual that gave it to me. So if it is you, thank you ever so much for from Rainy Days Brewing, Goat Boaters IPA. And well, you kind individual already know that you gave me a few of these and I've already tried them, so I feel a little bad about that, but this is a very, very nice beer for this lovely mild fall evening. It is, and I'm destroying the pour as I often do. Well, this might take a moment or two to recover from. Talk amongst yourselves. All right then, I have managed to, well, correct my indiscretion. Cheers. Let me remind myself what I'm drinking. Goat Boater IPA from Rainy Days Brewery. Yummy. Fabulous, actually. Oh God, what a lovely evening. Okay, last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt is Brian Cook. Brian, get a hold of me. You've won yourself a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. Congratulations. And while I'm with the paperwork, I would like to thank 3 new patrons that came aboard in the last little while. They are Eric Lamontagne, Kyle Bollmeyer, and Vincent Crowler, and I hope I pronounced that even remotely correctly. Anyway, thank you all so very much, and I'm so grateful for you having come aboard. Cheers. Well, what a frustrating yet very satisfying week I've had this last week. Really wanted to dig into those cabin sides, but so glad I'm not actually, because I really need to get prepared for that. You know, it's funny, doing a little repair piece for Zephyrus and the rotten cabin sides seems more daunting than replacing the entire cabin sides on Geordie, because that'll just be sort of clean and easy. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. You'll see how it goes. All you need now, of course, is a word of the week, and it's completely out of context. I was going to use rot, but thought better of it. It's the fall, it's glorious. Plus it's a fun word. You can do all kinds of things with it. Word of the week this week is fall. If you'd like to win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, simply use the word fall in a comment down below, and I pick at random over the next week or so where the comments, and if I pick you, you've won yourself a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. I want another sip of beer. You know what to do. See you next week. Another little complication for me this week is I have somehow forgotten my GoPro in Victoria aboard Poem. So the combination of the iPhone you are all sitting in right now and this little tripod is what we're working on this week. I hope it pulls itself together.